While on a tour of Poland in May 2006, Pope Benedict XVI visited the former concentration camp at Auschwitz, where over 1.5 million people were murdered. Born in Germany, Pope Benedict said that he had no choice but to come and grapple with his own country's history and the difficult questions about God that this kind of horrific evil stirs up in every heart. Freshman Sky Taketa chose this piece because, in her words, it tells us that we must not answer with violence, but instead with love. Please welcome Sky to the stage.
To speak in this place of horror, in this place where unprecedented mass crimes were committed against God and man, is almost impossible. And it is particularly difficult and troubling for a Christian, for a pope from Germany. In a place like this, words fail. In the end, there can only be a dread silence, a silence which is itself a heartfelt cry to God. Why, Lord, did you let this happen? I come here today as a son of the German people. For this very reason, I could not fail to come here. I had to come. It is a duty before the truth and the just due of all those who died here, a duty before God, for me to come here as a son of the German people. As a son of that people over which a ring of criminals rose to power through false promises of future greatness and the recovery of our nation's honor, prominence, and prosperity, but also through terror and intimidation, with the result that our people was used and abused as an instrument of their thirst for destruction and power. Yes, I could not fail to come here. How many questions arise in this place? Constantly the question comes up, where was God in those days? Why was he silent? How could he permit this endless slaughter? The words of Psalm 44 come to mind, Israel's lament for its woes. You have broken us in the haunt of jackals and covered us with deep darkness. Because of you, we are being killed all day long and accounted as sheep for the slaughter. Rouse yourself. Why do you sleep, O Lord? Awake, do not cast us off forever. Why do you hide your face? Why do you forget our affliction and oppression? For we sink down to the dust, our bodies cling to the ground. Rise up, come to our help. Redeem us for the sake of your steadfast love. This cry that Israel raised to God in its suffering at moments of deep distress is also the cry raised by all those who in every age, yesterday, today, and tomorrow, suffer for the love of God, for the love of truth and goodness. How many there are, even in our own day. When all is said and done, we must continue to cry out humbly yet insistently to God, rouse yourself. Do not forget mankind, your creature. And our cry to God must also be a cry that pierces our very heart, a cry that awakens within us God's hidden presence, so that his power will not be buried or choked within us. Let us cry out to God at the present hour with all our hearts, when new misfortunes befall us, when all the forces of darkness seem to issue anew from human hearts, whether it is the abuse of God's name as a means of justifying senseless violence against innocent persons, or the cynicism which refuses to acknowledge God and ridicules faith in him. Let us cry out to God that he may draw men and women to conversion and help them to see that violence does not bring peace, but only generates more violence, a morass of devastation in which everyone is ultimately the loser. The place where we are standing is a place of memory, is the place of the Shoah. Here, the past is never simply the past. It always has something to say to us. It tells us the path to take and the path not to take. I have walked alongside inscriptions in various languages, erected in memory of those who died here. All these inscriptions speak of human grief. They give us a glimpse into the cynicism of that regime which treated men and women as material objects and failed to see them as persons embodying the image of God. Some of these inscriptions are pointed reminders. There is one in Hebrew. The rulers of the Third Reich wanted to crush the entire Jewish people, to cancel it from the register of the peoples of the earth. Thus, the words of the psalm, "We are being killed, accounted as sheep for the slaughter," were fulfilled in a terrifying way. Deep down, those vicious criminals, by wiping out this people, ultimately wanted to kill the God who called Abraham, who spoke on Sinai and laid down principles to serve as a guide for mankind, principles that are eternally valid. If by its very existence, this people was a witness to the God who called Abraham and spoke to humanity and took us to himself, then that God finally had to die and power had to belong to man alone. To those men who thought that by force they had made themselves masters of the world. By destroying Israel by the Shoah, they ultimately wanted to tear up the taproot of Christian faith and replace it with a faith of their own invention. Faith in the rule of man, the rule of the powerful. Yes, behind these inscriptions is hidden the fate of countless human beings. They jar our memories, they touch our hearts. They have no desire to instill hatred in us. Instead, they show us the terrifying effect of hatred. Their desire is to help our reason to see evil as evil and to reject it. Their desire is to enkindle within us the courage to do good and to resist evil. They want to make us feel the sentiments that Sophocles placed on the lips of Antigone as she contemplated the horror all around her. My nature is not to join in hate, but to join in love. So, there is hope that this place of horror will gradually become a place for constructive thinking, and that remembrance will foster a resistance to evil and the triumph of love. At Auschwitz-Birkenau, humanity walked through a valley of darkness. And so here, in this place, I would like to end with a prayer of trust. One of the Psalms of Israel, which is also a prayer of Christians. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long.